Time for another Hot Air Sports podcast with me, Macca, and my good mate, Mahona. How are you this week, buddy?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Just trying to catch up on all this European Super League thing. I don't know what's going on, mate. It's moving faster than an American insurgents in Washington, D.C. What's going on at Old Trafford at the moment?
I've got a theory.
Yeah.
I've got a theory. It's all Donald Trump's fault.
Yeah, down with Donald. He'd be friends with the Glazers. He's that sort of guy, isn't he? That sort of guy.
He certainly is.
Take over with no care.
Yep, and it all came to a head on the weekend. We're all ready for the big Man United-Liverpool game and woke up the following morning. There's no game on Spark Sport. What's going on?
Oh, I was angry, mate. I sent off an email to Spark. Where is my game? This was so much easier when it was on Sky. It's just not fair. Not fair. I couldn't find my game. And then found out the game didn't happen, did it? The game didn't happen. There was a different sort of game off the pitch. Between the supporters of Manchester United and the owners of Manchester United, although it's not much of a fight if only one side of the fighters are there. Yeah, they were sitting at home in Florida, the owners, the Glazers, going, "Oh, there's supposed to be a game on. Should we turn it on?" Turned it on, and there's supporters inside the stadium creating all sorts of havoc. Got the game called off. What do you make of it, Macca? What do you make of it? What do you make of those fans?
Yeah, it's pretty ugly, really, when you think of the whole situation. I mean, the United owners, the Glazers, have refused to apologise. In their statement, they came out and made all the excuses under the sun and said that we're going to build bridges and, they need more than a couple of bridges to fix this.
They do. They need a whole airport.
Yeah, and it's all for the filthy lucre, I mean, greed is the root of all evil, as we know, and the Glazer family have just, perpetuated that and are carrying on as if nothing's happened. And just to see Avram Glazer, the bald guy with long hair, just absolutely refused to answer any questions from a Sky Sport reporter the other day. He just carried on walking from doing his shopping into his big flash car and then just drove off.
There you are.
Without saying
Yeah, mate. I don't understand why you'd even get involved with a football club if you don't have any heart for it at all. I do. It's money.
Yeah.
I mean, bottom line. But surely there's other ways to make money where you won't have a massive group of people that hate you so much. Why get involved if you've got no, this proper test that they do whenever they bring in a new owner for a Premier League team, and they're supposed to pass this fit and proper test. It obviously has nothing to do with their connection with the around, if you're buying a city's team, you don't actually have to have any support or any knowledge or any care for the city. Surely that should be part of the process,
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise you just can go in there and make filthy lucre. And take money out of the club and use it as an asset to mortgage other things. It's, leverage debt. It's just disgusting the way they're treating those people. And for me, as a Liverpool fan, as someone that's always hated Manchester United with a passion, and most of their fans too, it's hard to disagree with their anger.
Well, the fact is,
at the same time, though,
we've experienced that before with their previous owners, Hicks and Gillette. They were there for exactly reasons that the Glazers are now. You could say that Fenway Sports Group are the same, but at least they have shown some. They have actually apologised to the fans, and in fact, the Liverpool CEO Billy Hogan is going to meet with one of the fan groups, Spirit of Shankly, in the coming weeks, and discuss possible fan representation on the board. And I mean, how can that hurt?
No, it can't hurt. And what harm could it do? I mean, all you're doing is engaging with your largest base that, provides you with the most money. And surely you want to be, at least to be seen to be engaging with them. The problem that I see amongst all this, though, is where's this going to go? Where's it going to end? They're not going to sell their club. It's making them too much money. They don't really care about what the fan, until it impacts on them personally. They don't even live in the country. So, I'm glad that they're doing something. I just don't see how it's going to end unless there's some government assistance to buy out part of the club for the fans. It's just hard to see where it's all going to go. At the same time, though, you don't see any protests going on in Manchester City, do you?
No.
With their ownership, their ownership has completely replenished the local the residences around where that Etihad Stadium is as well, though. They've done a hell of a lot to help the greater Manchester area where they are and build it up with all sorts of infrastructure and restaurants and all those sorts of things. So they have done a lot more than the Glazers did. But I think the main reason you're not getting protests out of Manchester City, and this is a pretty simple concept, and I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be getting them at Manchester United either, is because they win. They win all the time.
Yeah.
And fans, when they're winning, are just happy. They don't give a shit. And I think that the Manchester United fan base, I think they'd be quite definitely quiet if they'd won the Premier League last year and the Champions League the year before. They never complained when Fergie was there.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, you look at across in Germany, Bayern Munich club president Uli Hoeneß was talking about their season ticket prices and said, we could charge more than £104. Let's say we charge £300. We'd get £2 million more in income, but what's £2 million to us? In a transfer discussion, you argue about that sum for 5 minutes, but the difference between £104 and £300 is huge for the fan. We do not think the fans are like cows who you milk.
It's a complete
the Glazers' mouths, could you?
No, it's a completely different way to run your club. It's almost like a different form of government. It's socialism as opposed to as opposed to commercialism. You know, it's like a completely different way. They're thinking about what's best for our club, what's best for our fans. You know, how can we make it run nice and smoothly? And the Glazers are thinking about how can we maximize our profits and make the most money, and that's their bottom line. You know, so just completely different ways to run their clubs. Quite ironic though that the Germans are the ones that are showing the rest of the world how to do this. You know, the 50+1.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's get to the matches proper. We've got a Champions League final now, mate. A couple of
two teams were involved in the Super League discussions, but point to note, these two teams were the first two clubs to withdraw. So I guess there is something in that, and of course,
there's probably a joke there somewhere, but I won't.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. A Saudi and a Russian walked into a bar.
Who withdrew first?
Yeah.
They were the first to jump in, jump back out. They probably thought, shit, we're in the semifinals. What are we doing?
Yeah.
They're in the competition final that they didn't really want to be a part of a couple of weeks ago, but now they do. You got City.
Game.
It is going to be a cracking game. It wasn't a bad semi-final of the FA Cup either. Chelsea and Man City both played incredibly well in those second legs of their semi-final.
Yeah.
Phil Foden just on fire for Manchester City. What a player. And Murray's pretty much the same for Manchester City. I thought he was going to be a little bit of a bit part player when he went to City, but he's got even better. And Kante as well, for the other ex-Leicester player for Chelsea. My God, those two players, both absolutely so vital for their teams. I think it'll be a great final. Fingers crossed that Manchester City win, though, because
it'll be better for Liverpool if they do.
Yeah, exactly. And now, of course, we've just found out this morning that Arsenal are out of the Europa League, which is even better for Liverpool. They're gone. They're not going to have any European football next year. So good luck with your recruitment, boys. You might have to be fishing around in the lower reaches of the championship or something for some good players.
A bit of revenge too this morning with former Unai Emery managing the Villarreal side.
Unai, he always looks like he's I don't know, he's chopping something. He looks like he's out of it.
Right. But talking about those Champions League spots, there's plenty up for grabs with a very much an outside chance for our beloved Liverpool, who basically need to win every game and hope that the chasing teams all drop points.
Okay, so let's go through this.
Yes, having a look at the games left to play for those teams. Leicester currently sitting in third on 63 points. I, of course, famously said that they would fall by the wayside. They still haven't quite yet, but they could.
You're leaving it late, Macca.
With Newcastle, Man United, Chelsea, and Spurs to still play against Leicester.
Wow, that's a hell of a run in.
61. They've still got Man City this weekend, and then followed by Arsenal, that big game against Leicester, and Aston Villa. West Ham, they're sitting on 58 points in 5th position. They've got a relatively easy run with Everton, Brighton, West Brom, and Southampton to play. Spurs, the managerless Spurs, are on 56. They've got Leeds, Wolves, Villa, and Leicester to go, while Liverpool still have Southampton, that rescheduled game against Man United, West Brom, Burnley, and Crystal Palace left. So they've still
we're on 54.
We're on, aren't 54, we? And so we've got 5 games left. Obviously, that game in hand against Man United still to go. So if we had won that on the weekend, we still would have only been on 57.
Yep.
So it still would have been a point behind West Ham and 4 points behind Chelsea. So hopefully that game in hand will do well for us, but we've just got to wait and see. It is against Man United, and boy, they've got a real backlog that week of.
They have.
With I did see it last night. They've got something like the next 3 games are across 6 days, so they play on Monday New Zealand time.
Yep.
Wednesday New Zealand time and
Friday
New Zealand time. So this time Friday next week is the catch-up game against Liverpool.
That's right.
Of course, they've just played this morning as well.
Yeah.
That second leg of the Europa League semi-final.
Okay, so mate, I've done my sums. We've got 5 games to go. 5 times 3 is 15. If we win all the games, not likely, but if we do, 15 and 54 is 69 points. So that's the most points that we can get. That would mean that Leicester have to win 2 of their remaining 4. They've got tough games, but I think they'll probably do that. So maybe we'll just put Leicester aside and say they're probably going to get Champions League. Chelsea 61, they've got a tough run as well, but the way they're playing at the moment, I'm going to put them aside as well and say that they're in, or they're close. And then we're chasing West Ham, aren't we? We're chasing West Ham. 58 points. They've got 4 games to go. If they win them all, they'll end up on 70 points. So if they win all their remaining games, there's no way that we can get in.
Correct.
But West Ham are one of those teams that often go 3-0 up and then can't hold on to the lead. They've still got David Moyes there doing his best impression to look successful when he's not being too successful. And so I've got my eyes firmly fixed straight ahead. West Ham United, mate. I reckon we can take them down and make the Champions League. If we can't, it's not the end of the world. No. It means that next year we'll be in the Europa League, and we'll have a little bit more time on the practice pitch and etc. And last time we weren't in, we made the Europa League final, so it's not going to be the end of the world, mate.
Yeah, the big thing is, if missing out on Champions League, the big thing is you miss out
recruitment
on signings. But I don't think that would be the case because Jurgen Klopp's done it before.
Yeah,
on big players when we've not been in the Champions League. So
he's the attraction himself, isn't he? I mean, players want to play for Jurgen.
So hopefully that will all work out in the positive for Liverpool. Of course, if Manchester City and Manchester United win the Champions League and Europa League respectively, that means the 5th place English side will qualify for the Champions League. So if we can finish 5th, there's still a chance.
And Everton, do us a favour for once, will you?
that would be good. At the other end of the table, West Brom are about to join Sheffield United in being relegated. They drew earlier in the week, and this will be Sam's first relegation.
Sam Eladici. We'll see you later, mate.
Yeah. So I think I think if is it Newcastle or Brighton? I think if Brighton pick up a point,
that's what. I think Brighton are already safe.
Pretty much. Let me just.
I'm sure Brighton are already safe because they won the other day. I think it's Newcastle. The thing is, Newcastle will pick up a point along the way in the next few games. Fulham have to win. Fulham have to win every single game that they've got left, and hope that Newcastle lose every single game. I mean,
Newcastle
that's
and
just
Burnley. West Brom can still catch Newcastle and Burnley, but if they lose or draw this weekend, they're out.
Yeah.
And if Newcastle or Burnley pick up points, West Brom are out. So
okay. I think we've got it. I think it's nearly nailed on, isn't it? I mean, we've got Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield United. We've been saying it for the last couple of months. I think they're gone. It's still mathematically in it, but Scotty Parker, I heard him sort of saying, "Oh, we can win 4. We can win 4." No, everyone will think I'm crazy. Did my research. Fulham have never won 4 in a row in the Premier League. Not going to win 4 in a row, mate. Never. It's not going to happen.
And Norwich and Watford are coming back to the Premier League.
They are.
Watford secured second place. Brentford, Bournemouth, Swansea, and Barnsley are now confirmed for the playoff spots with a game to go in the Championship. So, yes, Reading gave it a good go, but didn't quite get there in the end. And so, at this stage, it looks like Brentford will have, they are going to finish third. Like Swansea going to finish fourth, and it could be Bournemouth and Barnsley could swap positions in fifth and sixth. So if they stay as they are, it's Brentford versus Barnsley and Swansea versus Bournemouth. Of the playoffs. So interesting situation there. If Bournemouth win those playoffs, it would mean the same 3 that got relegated last year have come back up this year. And of course,
crazy,
those promoted last year are going straight back down, with the exception being Leeds, who have had a very good season in the Premiership.
Absolutely. Crazy times. I did notice one thing. I mean, we haven't spoken about VAR because we've tried not to, but there was one incident a couple of weeks ago since we've spoken last that really just ripped my undies. And I mean, you try not to speak about it, but Fabian Balbuena from the West Ham Chelsea game, I think this was the worst send-off ever. He got sent off for kicking a ball. Yes. It's essentially what he did. He kicked a ball and he followed through and kicked, I can't remember, was it Suchek or? No, it's Ben Chilwell. That's right, Ben Chilwell. And yes, it looked like it hurt Ben Chilwell, and yes, it did. But I struggle to understand how you're supposed to kick a ball and then just stop your foot. No follow through. The worst thing about this, though, is not that the guy on the field went, "Oh, well, I've seen that a little bit wrong," and given it a red card and off you go, mate. He gave it a yellow card. The guy then got in his ear from upstairs and said, oh, this looks nasty. You might want to go and check it out on the video screen. He goes over to the video screen, views it, sees the incident that all of us have seen, where you go, well, what's he supposed to do? He can't do anything. He's kicking a ball, and then he goes back and gives him a red card. I mean, it's the most pathetic thing a decision I think I've ever seen on a football field from someone who's supposed to be a professional referee, and he's basically illustrating that he has zero understanding of how football is supposed to be played. It was just
virtually
crazy.
The same thing happened a week later with Southampton's Yannick Vestergaard got sent off.
Yes, at the other end of the field. Yeah,
exactly the same thing. Following through, got the ball in the tackle, and his foot went on and collected Jamie Vardy. Referee sent him off for stopping a goal-scoring opportunity.
That's what he said. The goalie was right there, though. The goalie was going to get the ball.
Exactly. So. And both Balbuena and Vestergaard have had their red cards rescinded. Rightly.
Yeah. So, it's just, I mean, there's such a, there's forensic examination, and then there's just stupidity. I mean, they're playing a game where there's going to be incidental contact occasionally, especially when people are swinging their feet at a spherical object which is moving. People are gonna be banging into each other occasionally, and it doesn't always mean it's a foul. So, mate, it's just football is just doing my head in with those sorts of decisions. Obviously, at least they've overruled them. At least they've said, right, that's wrong. I just hope they get in the referee's ears and say, what the hell are you thinking? Give them a kick up the arse. Suspend them for a while, or there has to be some jeopardy, you know.
Quite right.
Anyway,
Now, something happened this week that I didn't think was going to happen.
me too. This is surprising.
Jose Mourinho has got a new job. He's been hired by Roma in Italy.
And not just a new job, he's got a new job as a manager.
Yes.
I thought he was going to do a bit of the Arsene Wenger thing and be on the on the TV circuit for a little while, maybe. But Mourinho's people, man, as soon as he gets out of a job, he probably gets on the phone, get me another job, and they get him another job. Apparently, the fans at Roma are stoked about this, though.
Yeah, I bet they are. And the good thing for Spurs is because he's got a job so quickly, they only have to pay him a small percentage of what they had.
Oh, do they?
Yes, I think it was something like £12 million he was owed for the balance of his contract. But if he got a job within X months of his sacking, they only owed him for the rest of the season. So I think they only had to pay him out a couple of million. So
can I ask,
Mr. Levy will be happy with that.
Well, I wouldn't put it past Mr. Levy to actually have lined up the job for Jose, so he doesn't have to pay.
Probably.
What would Mrs. Smalling, Mkhitaryan, and Lukaku make of all this after their exit from Old Trafford and saying, oh my God, and now all of a sudden, Jose's our manager again. Those poor guys.
Quite right. That, so interesting to see. So Roma will have a new bus next year.
They'll probably win the Europa League or something, mate. They'll probably win something, and then he'll shout to the rooftops and say, "I am the greatest manager." Can you not tell? You know, he will. And
quite right.
Look, he's box office to watch. So long as he's not managing my team, I'm okay to watch him.
Well, the funny thing is, when we hired Benitez, when he went to Chelsea, and apparently he did get interviewed for the Liverpool job.
That's right.
Decided to go to Chelsea instead because Roman was going to be able to pay him a hell of a lot more money than our idiot owners at
the time.
Dixon Gillette.
Yeah, he would have been at that stage. He would have been a great hire.
Yeah.
Completely different kettle of fish now, though, isn't he? I mean,
absolutely. Well,
he
just won the
Porto.
League with Porto.
He had gold dust in him there. I mean, he was. Yeah. He was a different sort of manager.
Yeah, Benitez had won the Europa League with Valencia.
That's right.
Both European wins. Anyway, back on this side of the world, the Wellington Phoenix have continued their good form.
They have.
Adelaide and a draw to Brisbane in their latest games and sit ninth. They're only 3 points outside the playoff spots, and they're only 6 points from second in a very congested table. So, some interesting times ahead for the Phoenix. And, of course, coming home to play a couple of games, hopefully.
That's awesome.
They're going to play Western United in Wellington and Perth Glory in Auckland. So that'll be towards the end of May. Obviously, if the bubble stays open, that will happen. I see they've closed it for 48 hours from New South Wales at the moment. So hopefully that situation can get sorted fairly quickly. But go
the Phoenix though, mate. I just love watching them play. That's the thing. I mean, even if they don't make the playoffs this year, I've enjoyed watching them perhaps more than I've ever enjoyed watching them. And that's important when you're watching football. You know, I mean, losing. I think they had a tough start to the season. They lost a few games they really should have won, and they just didn't seem to be able to click. And now that just looks like they're clicking a lot more. And they've got some talented players, man. And every time I watch them, they are the most entertaining team to watch. So, mate, I turn them on every weekend. Go the Phoenix. I'd love to see them. Love to see them make the playoffs. Because if they make the playoffs, mate, it's a one-off game. They can beat anyone in this league. They can.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And, yes, I'm really looking forward to seeing a big crowd turn out for both of those games.
Man.
Stadium and Eden Park. So should be a couple of absolute crackers.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait to see the Phoenix live. I hope they get like 20,000 up here and probably 15, 20 down there as well. That'd be fantastic to see a big crowd at football again. Yeah. What does that feel like? It's been too long, mate.
I see that they're opening the doors to Premier League stadiums will be able to have up to 10,000 fans in attendance for the last 2 games of the season. No away fans. So that's why they've done it for the last 2 games of the season. So at least clubs get 1 home game in those last 2 games. So they're going to have 10,000 fans. So we'll have 10,000 fans on the Cop against Crystal Palace for hopefully a game that we can win and qualify for Champions League.
Yeah, it's slowly changing, eh? And also they're talking about maybe in Istanbul for the Champions League final. Whether people will be traveling there, don't know. Don't know exactly how that's going
to go to Turkey at the moment.
No, I don't think I would really be wanting to either. But if you've been vaccinated and you got your passport and, a bit of money in your back pocket, who knows? I'm sure there's going to be some mad Chelsea and City fans that do make their way there anyway. So hopefully there's a little bit of an atmosphere there.
Changing a bit of tack, there's one country at the moment I have absolutely no plans on traveling to in definitely the short midterm future, and that's India at the moment.
Yeah, man, India's a sad situation. I mean, we talked about the IPL when it was going in. We were going, we can't believe this is happening. It went ahead. The numbers have gone up and up and up. I think yesterday there were close to 400,000 cases in India for one day. Yeah. I mean, those numbers are just astronomical. The country is falling to bits internally. And meanwhile, there's massive stadiums. These players living the life of luxury, getting paid hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars, and in stadiums where there's no one there to watch them. It's ridiculous. It's going on. I think that as much as you and I are sports fanatics and will watch anything at any time, you got to be a realist. You got to say, look, international sport, I mean, club sport and individual countries can continue, but international sport, it should have just stopped a year ago when we started through this, and we should have said, we're not starting it again until the whole world's vaccinated. It's just crazy to bring people from one side, from all over the world, put them in one thing, regardless of the size of your bubble. And especially, it's actually morally and ethically wrong when a country like India, which is so poor, is struggling so much with it. There's a couple of players that left before there was the COVID outbreak amongst the players in India at the IPL who felt that way, who just said, look, I don't feel comfortable collecting this large wad of cash while people are suffering. And, it's just crazy, man. It's just horrible to think of. I'd send all my love to everyone in India.
The BCCI have finally seen sense and suspended the IPL. And of course, all our Kiwis have got to try and get out of the country as soon as possible, with many of them due in UK for England Test and next month's World Test Championship final. I saw Heath Mills on the news last night, the CEO of the New Zealand Cricket Players Association, and he was saying that all bar Trent Boult are heading directly to England. Trent Boult is coming home because he's obviously just had a brand new baby a few months ago, so he's coming home, and he's actually going to be missing those 2 English tests, but we'll be back in the UK in time for the World Test Championship final. So no Bolty for those.
Not ideal, though, is it? Really? I mean, if you're gonna, I know you're having a baby and all that sort of stuff. I don't know, man. Would you? That's the thing. I mean, he's such a vital part of our bowling attack. I mean, would you chuck him straight? I mean, imagine if someone, I don't know. Imagine if, say, just off the top of my head, Matt Henry, picks up, a couple of fifers in those 2 lead-up tests. How are you going to drop him for that final?
Could be an opportunity for Doug Bracewell too.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Lockie Ferguson or someone come out of the woodwork, and it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know how you manage that. See, that's the thing. I don't even think this World Test Championship should be going ahead, really. I mean, as much as I want our team to be in there, I mean, is it worth it?
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows? Yeah.
Quite right.
Anyway.
Rugby League, the Warriors have been down the last couple of weeks.
They have been a bit up and down, man. Since we spoke last, they lost to the Storm 42-20. That was a tough one to take, actually, because I saw a decision in that game which almost mimicked the Balbuena, just absolutely crazy I mean, a head clash, and our guy gets sent to the sin bin for 10 minutes. Josh Curran, basically, Reece Walsh puts up a high bomb. Their fullback takes it, smash, head clash. The worst thing about it was it happened fast. I can understand if the referee didn't see it and then he sends him to the sin bin, but he gets told by the guy upstairs, oh, no, you got to send him off. You got to send him for 10 minutes. It was a head clash, you idiot. And that basically stuffed us. They scored 2 tries in that time and basically jumped on the lead. We couldn't get them. The Storm are a hell of a side, mate. No, the thing is, 40-20 seems like fairly good loss now when you consider their last 2 results. They've won by 40 points, and last night 50 points, 50-0 against South Sydney. Yeah. They are a hell of a side, mate, on a hell of a run at the moment. But in that game for the Warriors, our new boys Reece Walsh and Rocco Berry made their mark. Rocco Berry, of course, the son of Marty Berry, former All Black Marty Berry. Yes, he looked really
good. Greytown lad, Marty Berry.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. From you,
he's a real estate agent here in Greytown for Ray White Real Estate. There you go, Marty. I've given you a plug.
Woohoo! There you go. And his boy, Chip off the old block, mate. Yep. He's a tough nutter. And my God, he played last week. He played so well, especially on defence. To me, he reminds me a little bit of a slightly smaller version of Simon Mannering. Yep. Quite an upright style, but tough as old boots, man. He just looks like he could fit in the centres for the next decade or so. Really liked him. But this Reece Walsh, mate, I've been talking about him for a month or so before he got that first game. And my God, this guy can play. He reminds me a little bit of Brent Webb mixed with a bit of Sean Johnson. And Sean Johnson, to me, is the player that he reminds me of when he runs. He's just... He's the first player I've seen in a Warriors jersey since Sean Johnson that can just break the line, other than Roger, of course. Roger can do anything, but, that we've actually brought up from the young age. What a player. Then, of course, the thriller against the Cowboys, 24-20. We led 24-4 earlier in the game, and he was just running the game, playing at 6 as well. Really interesting to see him play at standoff. He's not a standoff, he's a fullback, but he's just got so much confidence for a young boy, and I just love him. I just love him. Although there is talk that he may miss out on the starting lineup against Manly this week, which would be really, really harsh on him. But there's talk that Chanel Harris-Tavita is back, and Reece Walsh may be on the bench or may miss out. Yep. I don't know. I just think it'd be hard to put him on the bench because I just love his kicking game as well. I just love everything about this boy. And he's a very handsome young man too. I mean, very handsome. Even the wife likes him.
Absolutely. Lovely, handsome young man. I watched a bit of the game against the Cowboys. And when they were up 24-4.
Game of 2 halves.
I thought, they've got this one in the bag, and started watching something else, and then checked my phone about an hour later and thought, that was a close one.
It was so hard to watch that second half, mate. The first half, it was just riding pretty. It felt so good, just like the old days. We're popping passes, throwing it out the back. It was like the Warriors of old. The second half, it wasn't so much that we dropped it. Well, we did. We didn't play anywhere near like we did in the first half, but also the Cowboys raised their game. So in the first half, we had a 92% completion record, for our set of 6. In the second half, it was down to 60. And theirs was around 60 in the first half and went up to 90 in the second half. We just didn't get the ball and didn't score a point in that second half. But in the end, we did score 2 points, 2 competition points at the end of the game, mate. And that's all that mattered. And that result means that we're into the top 8. We're actually in 7th position as we speak. I've got the table right in front of me now. Where's my table? There it is.
I'd just going back to Rocco Berry.
Mate.
Another wee connection. Former St. Pat Silverstream first 15 player, of course. My old school. And the little I have seen of him play, he reminds me a heck of a lot of his dad. His dad was never a big man himself and played second 5. Obviously, most of his time started out with Wairarapa Bush and then moved over the hill to Wellington and played for the Upper Hutt Club over there. But, long-term player for Wellington. Not much of him, very raw-boned, could take a tackle. Boy, could he take a tackle, and boy, could he tackle as well. Very wiry, raw-boned man, Marty Berry. And when you see him walking down the street now, he looks like he's about the same playing weight He was back in those days. So
I'll tell you what, mate. He must be hella proud. He must be so proud. He's getting mentions at least half a dozen times every time the Warriors play. Former All Black. He's a son of a former All Black. Son of a former All Black. Marty Berry. Yep. It's just like, my God. It's all of a sudden the Aussie rugby.
A couple of games for the All Blacks. He didn't.
It doesn't matter.
He got stuck behind a certain Walter Little and Frank Bunce around the same time. So didn't really get to play a lot for the All Blacks. But very good player, and would have played for any other country at the same time.
Yeah, no, fantastic, mate. That's just so cool. I mean, I just love it when a second generation comes through. It makes you feel really old, but it also makes you, So looking at the top 8, mate, they sort of have the table has sort of separated itself. So you've got 4 teams on top, and they are the 4 teams on top. Although the Rabbitohs took that hell of a pounding 50-0 last night. They'd won 8 in a row and up until that stage, and then just got smashed by the Storm. So you got the Panthers and the Storm both on top on 16 points at the moment, but the Panthers got a game in hand. They are just crazy good at the moment. The Eels and then the Rabbits. So you got all of them, the Eels and the Rabbits on 14, and the Panthers and the Storm on 16. And then you got the Roosters on 12. By themselves in 5th place. So they're sort of hanging on to the coattails of those top 4. And then you've really got 3 spots, 6, 7, and 8. And you've got the Dragons in 6th and 7th, the Warriors, both on 8 points. And then you've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams on 6 points. So you've got really 3 spots, and you've got about 8 teams going for those 3 spots. And I think that's probably how it'll be as well. On 6 points, you've got the Titans, Raiders, Seagulls, Knights, and Cowboys. You can just about forget about the Broncos and the Bulldogs at the bottom. Sharks and the Tigers haven't done much either. But it's going to be a hell of a competition for that top 8. And the Warriors just need to stay above. Try and get into 5th and 6th. Really, that's my. Don't get down to the 8th position at the moment. They're doing well. They're 2 points ahead of the next team, the Titans, in 8th. So they're doing very well for themselves. Also this week, mate, talk of a new Rugby League conference system with a new team from Brisbane and a new New Zealand team. They're going to break it into 2 conferences of 9, play each other, each team twice in their conference and once outside the conference, and then run it like the NFL when they do the playoff system.
But like Super Rugby was.
Yeah, a little bit, but it'll be combined tables and all that sort of stuff. Once again, I don't like the sound of this. I do like the sound of a new Kiwi side. I'd love it. And I do like the idea of playing a few more derbies. But once again, when you don't have the whole competition playing the whole competition the same amount of times, and then when it gets to the playoff system, it also means that there's no way that the Warriors could, say, meet the other New Zealand side in the grand final, or the Brisbane side, or the Melbourne side. Yeah. It'd always be the conference winners at the end and then meeting in the grand final. So, it was just thrown out there. I don't like the sound of it, but I think if they're looking at expanding, they've got to look at these sorts of things. So thought that was interesting. Also, what I found interesting...
The conference system does do that, doesn't it? How many times have we seen the NFL where, one conference is so much stronger than the others, and you look at the conference final really saying, wow, that's the Super Bowl, really.
It is. Yeah.
And the same in baseball when you get the... American League is generally regarded as being stronger than the National League. And often, the 2017 and 2019, when the Yankees played the Astros, it was like, that's really the World Series, because whoever wins that is going to win the World Series.
That's right. And you can never get a Yankees-Red Sox World Series, Yeah. I mean, you're taking that out of the equation. I like the idea, and you'll never be able to. You also take away the fact of 2 Sydney teams playing in a grand final. That could be even bigger for the sport. I mean, a Roosters Rabbits final, that would just be huge in Sydney. It hasn't happened for 30, 40 years. But just taking that away by saying, well, we're doing a conference system now that will never happen again, I think that's a little bit sad. So, not for the conference system. Interesting as well this week that the Broncos CEO labelled the teams poaching his team's top talent after they lost the halfback Walker to the Roosters, and, of course, Reece Walsh to the Warriors, called them, the opposition teams, vultures. And he calls for compensation for those teams losing lots of players. And I thought, that's an interesting
saying here that I think might be appropriate in this. Something about a pot.
Yeah. and a kettle
Yeah.
and the colour black.
Yeah.
Gus Gould said, let's be honest here. He said there's only 2 or 3 sides that develop any players in rugby league. That's because it's not worth their while, because the other teams just come and get them. He said the Broncos have had their fingers in New Zealand for over 20 years, poaching all the top talent from New Zealand. And now they get a couple of players losing and they're screaming blue murder. It really is. It's just so funny to see that they're upset that a couple of their young juniors have gone off to other teams. I just think, look, mate, I do agree with maybe there should be some sort of compensation system, but where are you getting your players from the start? The Broncos haven't produced a halfback since Alan Langer, mate. So from their local area anyway.
If every club in every sport held on to their talent, Southampton and West Ham would be the 2 best clubs in the Premier League.
By miles. Exactly. And Nottingham Forest wouldn't be too far behind either.
Exactly.
So yeah, exactly, mate. I mean, it's the way of the world. Welcome to it. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting. And I like that Gus Gould is going into bat for us and sort of saying, hey, well, mate, Broncos, you've been doing it for years. The latest Warrior to leave is Paul Turner. He's been released. He's heading to the Cowboys or the Titans, is my oil. Feel a little bit sorry for this fella. He was a fullback. He's only never played fullback for the Warriors. He's never let us down, but he's just not going to get a game, I don't think. So good luck to him. And that is my league wrap, basically. I've covered most of the league. The Warriors against Manly.
As a Warriors fan, is it a concern seeing all these younger players being released? And obviously we've seen the boy at Parramatta do astoundingly well since being released. Papa Lee. Are we going to see the same with Paul Turner and the other lad who went to the Eels as well?
Yeah, it is a concern, but it's a big but. There's a salary cap in rugby league. And the only reason we're getting rid of him and we've got rid of other players, it's moving money around, making room for space for other players in the future. We just re-signed Rocco Berry, actually, for another 2 years. So maybe they moved him out and went, well, we've got a little bit more money. We can give it to him. It's always just a shuffling of deck chairs. It would be a concern if these new guys coming through for the Warriors hadn't done so well. But it just seems like every new guy that we're putting up to the plate is performing at the moment, or at least showing effort and showing a bit of talent. So it would be concerned, but I just think every new young guy that we got playing for us at the moment is doing the job. So it's hard to say that Paul Turner. They did put an offer on the table for him. It wasn't like they said you can go. They put an offer on it, and apparently Gold Coast or the Cowboys have doubled the offer. So they think he's worth more. We don't. That's the way it goes in rugby league. I mean, that's the salary cap. That's the beauty of the salary cap. If one team values you at twice the price, they can go out and get you for twice the price, but they have to make that up in other areas. And, it's something that the Premier League, as much as, you can't really put a salary cap on. What's the salary cap? 50 billion. You can't really do it. It does make it, and you got to, and a draft is another way to do it, of course, But no, I'm not too concerned. I think the Warriors are going great at the moment. I'm really, really happy with my team. So I normally am. Even when we lose, I'm just a sucker for punishment, mate.
Oh, you've been doing it for 25 years now.
I have. Can you imagine how happy I'll be when we finally win the comp? I'll just explode everywhere.
You will.
Warrior blood coming out of me. Woo!
Still the oval ball, but to the 15-man code. Still no agreement in place with the NZRU and Silverlake with the Players Association, still not giving their approval after nearly a month of mediation, which seems to haven't done anything. And the question, watching the breakdown the other night, and I don't usually listen to too much of what Sir John Kirwan says because he's just talks a lot of rubbish. But he did say something which was very valid the other night, and that both sides seem to be putting out their own agendas and not actually telling the public the truth. You're hearing the rugby union coming out and saying, this is going to be the savior of our game and blah, 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 and all that. And then you hear the Players Association saying, we don't want to sell off our game and, we don't want just to sell it off to the highest bidder and blah, blah, blah. The question I ask, is a 12.5% stake in New Zealand rugby that much of a deal for the Players Association to be holding out as much as they do?
Well, this whole thing runs parallel to the Super League thing in the UK. I mean, I know we're a long way away in terms of the numbers, and I know the percentage is not as big and all that sort of thing, but you've got to take these arguments and sort of think, okay, so the UK football went through this in the 1990s and early 2000s, where massive investment companies from all over the world came in and said, we want a piece of this. And they opened their doors and said, fantastic, we can get better players, better stadiums. It'll be a better experience for the spectators, all that sort of thing. But what did, and at the time, everyone said, well, this is just great for everyone. But what did they sell? What did they sell? They actually sold the actual ownership, and that's why the fans feel so disengaged over there at the moment. Now, I think what we've got here is a similar thing where the players are almost representational for the fans. They're saying, can we just slam the brakes on here and think about the whole big picture? I think that's what they're trying to say. Look, what are we giving away here? And the rugby union is just going, no, this is just going to be great. It's going to be great. Money, money, money. We're going to be raining money. It's going to be great for the grassroots, great for the top. It's going to be great for everyone. But what are you giving away? They're not going to do this for nothing. They're not doing this. So I just think we have to be so careful, especially when you're a national sporting organization. Exactly. They're not a club team. Yeah. They're a national sporting organization. Yeah. So to sell that it's just so, to me, it's just wrong. I'm probably not living in the commercial reality of 2021, but
well, that's what it is, really, isn't it? It is all about money.
Is it a business?
Yeah.
Are they a business?
Even Justin Marshall said something sensible on the program.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, boy.
And both Jeff Wilson and Mills Muliaina, who are also on the panel, all agreed that none of this money should go into professional rugby.
I agree, 100%.
Oh, so totally. And
grassroots.
Players Association they're not actually asking for a bigger cut of the pie. They're asking, they currently receive 36% of New Zealand Rugby Union revenue, which then gets paid to the players. They're not asking for 1% more. They still want 36% of the revenue, which I guess when you take into account the investment will mean more money for the players.
Yeah.
But hearing former players and of course the likes of Sam Cane and Sam Whitelock have spoken out as well and said that all of this money needs to go into the grassroots level of the game to form a proper pyramid. So that little Johnny Smith who plays for the Napier Technical under fives feels the benefit, so he can go on and be confident that there's a pathway for him to become an All Black one day.
The money we don't need, for a start, the money at the top, it's generating its own money anyway. I mean, that's why the New Zealand Rugby Union is so wealthy, is because of the All Blacks. So why you don't need to pump the money into there. Like you said, where the game is struggling is grassroots clubs, and what it is around there is community. It's not a business. When you get to that level, it's a community. So if you are taking this money and saying, okay, we are going to take this money, we know that there will be something to pay it back later on, and in the terms of whatever. But what we're going to do is take this money and invest it in grassroots and invest it in, in things, and drill down and make our game a more healthy game for everyone concerned and create that pathway and that pyramid. Who would complain? Would the Players Association complain about that? No. So because it hasn't been verbalized well enough, or the dialogue hasn't been open enough, we're just left here to speculate, And
the other thing that I am picking up along the way too is the Players Association are not happy about what the Rugby Union are saying is that with part of this money, they're going to be forming a new commercial company to promote the brand around the world. How is that putting money back into Rugby Union's pockets? It's not taking it out of it.
It's basically moving it away from what we were saying before, community organization. You're moving it away from that. You're becoming a brand. You're becoming a business. And that's probably why these people are putting the money in, to be fair, because they're going to want a dividend and an investment and
quite right.
You know,
wanting their cut of the a 12.5% cut of any profit. So it's obviously the New Zealand's 26 provincial unions have voted in favour of it.
Did they have a choice though?
That's the thing, is have they been told the truth? Is that ever going to be made public? So we just don't know. On the field, the All Blacks 2021 season is starting to take shape with likelihood of 2 tests against Fiji and Samoa, a test against Samoa, with Italy deciding not to tour. There's also a 3-test Bledisloe Cup schedule mooted, likely to be announced soon with games in Wellington, Melbourne and Auckland, but still to be confirmed. And no news yet on a rugby championship. But of course, there is a UK-Europe tour also confirmed for October, November. So, I see Ireland was supposed to go to Fiji, but with the COVID situation in Fiji, they've pulled out of that. So perhaps there's a possibility that we might get them here for a test or two. Looking like a Pacific Island winter for the All Blacks. 2 tests against Fiji and 1 against Samoa.
Just the way it has to be, mate, at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm still not happy that we're touring Europe.
No.
I mean, can we just leave it for another year, man?
Exactly. Well, it's money.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
They've put in an extra test against Wales, is it? Yeah.
Yep.
Purely because it's not part of that official autumn tour schedule. So the rugby union gets more money out of it. Again, we go back to
what's more important. What's more important? Well, obviously, they're speaking with the figures. Really, money's more important. Yeah.
Anyway, Super Rugby is about to come to an end this weekend. The champion.
Oh, is it? Is it still going?
Still
going? Is it still going?
Oh, then the Trans-Tasman series, but
the Blues
is about.
The Blues are on the Blues are on the beach, mate. They're on Milford Beach.
Yeah, well, they've got games coming up in a couple of weeks, so they better not go to the beach. Big final this weekend. Champion Crusaders meeting the Flying Chiefs in Christchurch. Can the Chiefs do it one more time, or will the well-drilled Crusaders give Scott Robertson another breakdancing opportunity?
Yeah, I think there'll be a bit of breakdancing. I think there will be. Yeah, man. I mean, unless Mackenzie can pull something out and do from his bag of tricks, I can't see anyone else winning this again except for the Crusaders, mate. And
well, and the draw worked perfectly for the Crusaders. They had a week off last week.
Yeah.
Whereas the Chiefs had to play the Blues, and I noticed Coach Clayton McMillan rested a number of his top players and basically put out the B side, which included the 63-year-old Liam Messam.
He's still going.
Good old
Crazy.
Liam. Yeah. You forget that he really came to prominence as a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
So, yes, he has been around a long time, but I think he's 37, 38, something like that.
And he was training with the Warriors earlier this season as well. I actually did some work with him just before the World Cup in 2011. So that shows you how long he's been. He was part of the All Blacks squad in 2011, 10 years ago. So he's not going too bad, is he, old Liam? He's a fit man, though, man. He's very, very fit man, very athletic. I don't think he'll have any problems with it. But the Blues won that one, of course, and celebrated like they'd won the World Cup. So happy to beat the Chiefs. Woo!
Yeah, right. Now, last year in the shortened season where Super Rugby Aotearoa was first held, I've picked out 5 names of players who were absolute superstars last year, and I want to ask you if you think how they've gone in their second season, and I'm going to ask you to give a pass or fail mark. I've given all grades as well.
Okay.
So the first one is Hoskins Sututu. He had unbelievable last year in Super Rugby.
He would have been an A last year.
Yeah.
You'd probably give him I'd give him maybe a C plus, maybe a B minus. I'd
Yep.
let him pass. I'd pass him. He's played okay, but he hasn't been anywhere near as dynamic as he was last year. But that could be second season thing. I think he's still well worth considering for the All Blacks. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I've given him a pass. Yes, definitely a lot quieter than he was last year. And I mean, all these guys, some of them have played more than 2 seasons, but it was just that last year they really came out and so yeah, just checking up on their second season syndrome.
Cool. Let's do this. Who else you got?
Is Caleb Clark. Absolute
Okay.
Last year for both the Blues and the All Blacks.
Yeah.
How do you rate him this year? As
I think he's been a victim of the Blues. To be fair, I don't think the way we've played has done him any favors at all. He's been okay. He's made a few mistakes, as you often do for a young guy, but he's still got the physicality. He's still, for me, if you get him out in the open, he will cause damage. And I think if he was at the end of a Crusaders backline, he would have been amazing. So to me, I'd still give him a pass mark, mate.
Yeah, I've given him a C minus this year. So
we used to say when I was at university, anything better than a C minus was a waste of good drinking time. So he passed. That's a pass. That's a provisional pass.
Yeah, I don't think he's gone to look for work as much as he did last year. Yeah, I've actually given him a fail so far. So I'm saying a C minus is a fail.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been disappointed in young Caleb this year. But yeah, he's it's the old cliche of form is temporary, class is permanent.
He's still got it, man. Yeah,
he'll come back, and there's a question mark actually hanging over him. Actually, will he be available for the All Blacks this year? Because he's tossing up whether to go for sevens.
Well, he was supposed to be playing sevens last year, wasn't he? He was on the lead up to the Olympics. He was actually that was the choice, and then that all stopped because of COVID. So he jumped in the Blues squad, and the next thing you know, he's an All Black. So I would love to see him play sevens. He's made for sevens. I mean, big, fast, dynamic. I mean, he could be amazing in sevens. So good on him. I don't think that would do him any harm at all. Go and do a year in sevens and maybe get an Olympic gold medal.
Quite right. Okay. Moving from the Blues to the Chiefs, Lachlan Boshier, the flying open side number 7. I thought he was just unbelievable last year. And to be perfectly honest, I think he's played at the same level again this year.
I was going to say, how can you really? He's just so consistent, man. He never has a bad game, does he?
No.
He's a good player. He's a good player. He's Dwayne Monkley 2.0.
Yeah, and I mean, in my eyes, he's actually, especially with Ardie Savea out now for the rest of the year,
he'd be the number 1.
He'd be my pick for number 7 for the All Blacks. No doubt.
Because Kane's not there either. So, I can't think of anyone else. I mean, wow. Who are the other prospects at 7?
Duplessis Kirifi from
but he's probably a year too early.
Yep, probably. And
who's the guy at the Highlanders?
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, but either way, I think
the other man in contention last year, Dylan Hunt, he moved up to the Blues. They've got a couple of good Dalton Papali'i could be an option.
I like Dalton Papali'i. I think he's going to be a champion in a couple of years. I still think he's growing.
Blake Gibson is another one who's impressed me in the number 7 jersey. Anyway, moving south, got a couple of Crusaders here. Will Jordan, I think he's in the boat camp, isn't he? He's an A+ for a second season.
Who are you gonna have? That's an interesting call, actually. Who's your All Black fullback? Because you got McKenzie, you got Will Jordan, and you got
Damien Jordan,
Barrett,
Will Boshier.
So many. I mean, Barrett. I think for me, McKenzie's a perfect impact player for the All Blacks. I'd bring him on after 10 minutes of the second half, let him run riot for 30 minutes. For me, Will Jordan, I just think he's made for an All Black jersey, that boy. He reminds me of when Dan Carter was coming through. He just could not pick him. You just have to pick the guy. He's just oozing class, and he just does things that others can't do, you know. So
Well, I
yeah,
mean,
he's an A at the
you
moment.
could theoretically have 3 fullbacks in
You
the
could,
11, 14, and 15 jerseys.
yeah, you could.
Um,
They could play
but yes, I
play
think
wings as well.
we'll delve a bit more into the All Black selection next week.
And then you'll have Roger to consider as well.
Yeah, and of course, Bowden Barrett is available
Exactly.
after a season in Japan. So
it's an embarrassment of riches out the back there for the All Blacks, mate.
The last
got to get them the ball.
The last one of my 5 players to pass or fail in their second season, I've picked up Cullen Grace, the Crusaders number 8. He was barnstorming last year and made the All Blacks and then got injured. So only managed a few minutes for the All Blacks, but he's played a full season this year. I'm putting him in the Satutu category. Fantastic last year, still very good this year, but just not as blockbusting, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'd say much the same. I mean, they've really done it. I mean, the Crusaders have really done it as a team in the forward pack. They've really, hunted as a pack, and he's been maybe that's the reason some of the individuals for the Crusaders haven't stood out. But people like Ethan Blackadder as well. They're not flashy players. They just do it together, don't they, mate? They hunt as one, and yeah, I mean, he's a good player, man. He's a good player, but probably not quite as good as last year, though. You're right.
Yeah. Very good. Super Rugby Australia final this weekend as well, as the unbeaten Reds face the second place and last year's champion Brumbies. Now, the Reds did beat the Brumbies twice in round robin games. Both games were only by 2 points and last-minute penalties. So this could be an absolute cracking game as well.
When is this? Is this Saturday night?
Both games are Saturday night. 7:30 for the Chiefs Crusaders, and then the Reds Brumbies straight after.
Yeah, and they'll have crowds there and everything as well, won't they? Yeah, it's a tough one. I just think the Reds have been the best team in Australia for the whole year. Can't see them really being beaten, but it might be a game to carry on watching after the Kiwi final, mate. I mean,
right.
I did catch that second game last week, and it wasn't too bad. So I haven't watched a lot of the Australian stuff. What's your pick for the final?
I to be honest, if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably say the Reds, but the Brumbies have played some good rugby this year as well. So that could go either way. And in fact, obviously we didn't give our picks for the New Zealand final either, but I'm obviously Crusaders. But again, the Chiefs could do it.
Of course they can. Go the mighty Chiefs. I'm right behind you, Chiefies. Go the Chiefs. But no, they won't do it. The Crusaders will win.
Yes, we spoke a few weeks ago about the report that came out of the Auckland NPC side last year.
Yeah, all these.
They're facing losing at least 2 All Blacks leading up to this year's competition, with Hoskins Satutu moving south to Counties Manukau, and is likely to be joined by prop Ofa Tungawafasi in the fallout from that review. Caleb Clark was also rumoured to be moving, but he's decided to stay. And, of course, Philo Tiatia, the assistant coach, he resigned from his role a month ago when the report was first released. Interesting times in the Garden of Eden.
Who's going to be playing for? Maybe we'll have to get Liam Messam on the phone. Get John Kerwin back. Maybe Mark Carter might be available.
Headband.
Someone like Mark Ellis could make a comeback if the contract was agreeable enough. Who are they going to have play for them, mate? I don't know. Maybe it'll just be the Auckland Grammar first 15.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Auckland Rugby, but yeah, it's not good. It's not good. No. It's a bloody mess. Sorted out. I think, to be fair, Auckland Rugby's been a mess for a while. It's just chickens coming home to roost.
Yeah, it's they've had a situation there where the board was the same for Super Rugby as the NPC, and it was just an absolute shambles at that time. And then they split them. It was about 3 or 4 years ago, wasn't it? So I guess, I don't know whether you could still...
Andy Dalton was involved with some of that, wasn't he?
He was chairman of the board. And so they've got separate boards now, separate administration teams, separate CEOs. So,
well, the reason they did that was because basically everyone in the Auckland NPC side went straight into the Blues, and everyone else, every other catchment side, like North Harbour, they could never get in the Blues, so they'd have to go down south, make a career for themselves in another rugby franchise, do really well, and then come back and go, oh, why weren't they playing for the Blues in the first place? Well, see, that's the thing. Auckland rugby's always been about Auckland rugby, and Blues rugby's always been about Auckland rugby. So they had to do that, but what they've done is basically stuff up both parts of it now.
Yeah.
So now the Blues is just as bad as the Auckland rugby side. I mean, I don't know, mate. Auckland rugby used to be the great gem, the jewel, and the New Zealand. They always used to say New Zealand rugby strong and Auckland rugby strong. Well, I hope not at the moment. hey.
Quite right. And the Lions tour to South Africa is still going ahead. Apparently, they just overnight. So
that's where the Lions live, mate. Of course,
true.
Of course.
So they've made a 37-man squad.
Only 37. Usually it's about 50.
They used to, yeah. And there, of course, will be the contingent of 17 coaches, 500 physios, 33 doctors,
dietitians.
So they'll need a whole 747 to fly the whole
guy to chop the meat. Yeah,
quite right. So no surprises. Wales captain Alan Wynne-Jones has been named to captain that squad.
Fair enough too. He was immense in the Six Nations.
He certainly was. Led them to victory in the Six Nations.
He did.
Had a good season. And good old Kiwi boy Bundy Aki has been named in the touring party. He's the only Kiwi in the side this year. There've been plenty over the last few years with Sean Maitland, the ex-Crusaders winger, and who else was there? Ben Teo.
Yeah, that's right.
Inside.
They'll pick up any of our old club players. Bunty Aki was a handy player for Waikato back in the day. Went over there. He's been playing for Ireland for a while now, though. So fair enough. He's probably he's done all his time and all that sort of stuff. And he's a handy player too. He was never going to make the All Blacks though. No. So to make the Lions, that's a pretty bloody good effort, isn't it, from the young man? Yeah. Good on him.
He's done well. So that's about it for rugby.
That's it for the code.
Head stateside now and
go on
about baseball.
Play ball.
Yeah. The season's starting to get some shape around it now, and over the last couple of weeks, the Yankees, Cleveland, and St. Louis have been charging.
About time the Yankees did.
Yeah, Yankees finally have a winning record. They've just finished a series against Houston, the cheating Astros. Just pop that in there for Martin Reed. And 2-1 series victory over the Astros. Giancarlo Stanton, the monster designated hitter for the Yankees, has just been going stupid over the last. He's gone a 12-game hitting streak now.
He's the right-handed junior, He's got that big. Junior. Yeah, like Junior used to do the left-handed thing. He does. He looks like a right-handed junior to me. He's got a beautiful swing.
Oh, yeah, it is pretty cool. Yankees, Cleveland, and St. Louis have been on good runs lately. The Dodgers have had an absolute shocking May.
Sad.
It is very sad. So they've got 2-8 in their last 10 games.
Fantastic.
The worst of the absolute worst, the terrible Detroit Tigers, 1-9 over their last 10 games. In fact, they've only won 8 games out of the nearly 40 games that they've played so far this season. So
that's a bloody good effort.
They could finish up with the worst record ever in the history of baseball. Boston still just holding on in the AL East. Kansas and Oakland hold slim leads in the Central and West. Interesting as American League West standings the other day.
Mm-hmm.
The A's were leading. Seattle was second, followed by Houston, the Angels, and Texas. And when you line up the first letter of all of those teams, it's spelled asshat. A lot of people waiting for that to happen for a long time. So
I'll bet they have.
You put the A's, then S for Seattle, H for Houston, A for the Angels, and T for Texas. Yeah, it's always been considered a
Some
bit
some people got way too much time on their hands, mate.
quite right. In the National League, the Giants lead the West. They're having a great start to the year. The San Francisco Giants,
Yep.
St. Louis Cardinals in the Central, and the Phillies in the East, despite only having a 500 record. They've
There's their conference system.
15 wins and 15 losses, and that's a strong league too. That one with the Mets, the Braves, the Marlins, possibly not, and the Nationals.
Wow.
Yeah, the Nationals.
Yeah, that's a strong. Those are strong teams.
Very strong.
And the best team in that league has got a 500 record.
Yeah.
Just shows you the way that the talent's dispersed. It's just you never know who's going to beat who. It's the equivalent of tossing a coin every day, isn't it? I mean, really.
And especially now with the expanded playoffs, there are sides that are going to get into the playoffs with a losing record because coming out of a bad division or a strong division.
Yeah, strong division. Yeah.
Sides are beating each other on a regular basis because obviously within your own division, you're playing teams 19 times over a season. So there's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, some were saying that the National League West with San Diego and Los Angeles Dodgers in there, they were saying there were going to be 19 World Series games played during the regular season between those two.
All right, it's crazy. Anyway, you've been banging the drum for a while about this cheating Houston Astros, mate.
Banging the trash cans,
banging the trash cans, banging the drums, trying to send the signals where they shouldn't be sent. What's going on with Houston? I heard they got booed the other day.
Oh boy, did they get booed! As very much so. So much so that the organisation came out and said, "Come on, guys, it's time. Enough's enough.
It's not baseball.
Time to stop the booing." Well, you cheated. Get over it.
You tell a crowd to stop booing. What happens?
They
boo louder, especially in New York.
Yeah,
come on.
Get the Bronx cheer. So yes, they were given a hostile reception this week in the first games at Yankee Stadium since the scandal broke, and only 10,000 fans in attendance. But Yankees second base DJ LeMahieu said it sounded like a playoff game. It was the 10,000 fans made that much noise. And give it another couple of weeks and they're going to be back to full capacity by all accounts. So interesting times ahead. Baltimore Oriole pitcher John Means.
I saw this the other day.
Through the season's third note.
Saw the end of it.
The Mariners, Mariners, the 6-0.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting one about this was we talked the other day about the difference between
a no-hitter
and a perfect game.
The bloody catcher.
Yeah. He still only faced the minimum 27 hitters.
That's right.
On the third strike, the catcher dropped the ball.
I know. It didn't just drop it. He let it go. Yeah, he let it go, and the guy ran to first, even though he struck at it 3 times.
Yeah.
So that is that the only thing that stopped him having a perfect game?
Yep. And then, of course, to avoid facing an extra batter, that guy was caught stealing.
Oh, is that why it wasn't an extra batter?
Yeah. So there was.
I didn't see the steal, or the attempted steal. How would the catcher feel, Macca?
Yeah.
How would the catcher feel that?
I think it was a wild pitch. I mean, it was it looked as though he was crossed up. He was expecting a fastball,
something completely different. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
you missed out on a perfect game, though.
You'd be annoyed, and I mean, the pitcher would be annoyed himself throwing something that the catcher wasn't expecting. But there are many in some quarters saying it should be still called a perfect game. And of course, just last week, with double headers only being 7 innings, Madison Bumgarner for the Arizona Diamondbacks threw a no-hitter over 7 innings, but it's not being recorded as a no-hitter because it was only 7 innings and not 9 innings.
9. Yeah, I would still say you have to do 9 innings. I mean, that's the way it's always been. I know most players don't pitch for 9 innings. That's a perfect 7 innings. I mean, but it's not it's not a,
Yeah.
you can't, it's a whole it's a whole game. It's 9, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it was actually an interesting day for the Diamondbacks that day.
I'm surprised he's at the Diamondbacks. He used to play for San Francisco, and I would have thought they would never sell him. Well, Baumgartner, he was their ace.
Yeah, he starting to show signs of slowing down a bit. But yeah, the Diamondbacks gave him a 6-year deal, I think, 5-year deal.
Did they? Well, there you go.
Yeah, and so bit of security for him, and so he went there beginning of last year. But that day he threw the 7-inning no-hitter, the first of a double-header against the Rockies. In the next game, Zach Gallen, the pitcher, he threw 7-inning complete game, gave up only 1 hit. So the Rockies over 2 games of a doubleheader, one hit.
You wouldn't want to be a Rockies fan over that doubleheader, would you?
No.
That's actually 3 no-hitters in the last month, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a crazy amount of no-hitters.
They often come along like Auckland buses. You'll see.
we did have that discussion, didn't we?
And then you'll get 3 in a row. Minor league season started this week after a year off for COVID. There was no minor league baseball last year. Couple of Kiwis involved in minor league baseball this year. Kyle Glagowski and Ben Thompson, both promotions with their respective franchises. Glagowski is now only 2 steps away from the majors after being assigned to Philly's AA club, the Reading Fightin' Phils. How do you like that name? And he's going to be starting, I think it's either tomorrow or the day after, for the
Fighting Phils.
The Fightin' Phils. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Spelt Fighttin, so no G on the end, and Phils, Phils, the Fightin' Phils.
That's Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Not Philip, not named after the prince or anything.
No. And Ben Thompson has been assigned to Moe, the Augusta Green Jackets, is the name of that side. And he actually pitched in relief yesterday, throwing 2 innings, not giving up a single hit and striking out 4.
So they've named their baseball team after the golf.
Yeah, that's based in Augusta. Minor league affiliate of the Atlanta Braves.
The Green Jacket. Yeah, okay.
Green Jacket. So,
I sort of see what they're doing there, but just come up with better names.
Oh, come on,
their names are great.
Their AAA franchise is the Lehigh Iron Pigs. There's some cracking names in mine.
There is some cracking names, mate.
Yeah.
What about this Auckland youngster I've been hearing a bit about, mate? Jason Matthews.
Yes, mate. He's absolutely flying this year in his senior season at University of South Carolina Upstate, who are an NCAA Division I team. So he could, the whole team's actually doing really well. Will most likely make the playoffs to go to the College World Series.
Oh, awesome. Because that'll be on ESPN too, some of that normally.
Yeah, Matthews, the shortstop, currently hitting 323. You hit that in the majors and you're guaranteed a place in the Hall of Fame. Anything pretty much over 300 in his final college season, and he'll be hoping he's picked up in next month's MLB draft. In his 3 seasons at Upstate, he has hit 306 at the plate, which is, again,
wow. You
hit that in the major leagues and you're going to the Hall of Fame. So, I guess as a fallback now with the Tuatara back into the ABL again next year, if he doesn't get drafted, there's an opportunity for him to come home and still play professional baseball.
Do you think you'd do that at that age? Wouldn't you want to stay in America, sort of still,
if you don't get drafted, you've got the independent system has taken a hit after COVID. So, plenty of players have played in the ABL and been picked up by major league sides. It's one of the competitions that they do look at for up and coming players. But if he carries on hitting this form for the whole season, I can't see.
He won't be back. No.
So he's good luck. A great story too, this kid. Both his parents were dead before he was 12. Brought up by his sister in Takanini.
Really?
Played softball till he was 15, 16, and then decided to give baseball a go. He's been to MLB academies around the world and in the States. And
Wow.
yeah,
That's a great story.
just an absolute great story.
And now he's in America doing it, man.
Yeah. And
how old is this kid?
He's 20, be 22 this year, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's just finished his college degree. He's
wow.
got a US college degree in exercise.
So even if it doesn't work out, mate, you know, what an amazing thing. He's got himself an education in America. That's I love stories like that. That's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And as I say, if he doesn't get picked up in the draft, he could play the next 10 years for the Auckland Tuatara, probably longer.
Be one of their first franchise players, you know, their first Stacey Jones, you know, sort of player. That's fantastic. Oh, Jason Matthews. Okay, well, I'll keep an eye on him when the College World Series rolls around.
Yes, staying in America, the two Scots. What a weekend for them.
Wasn't it awesome, man? That first race in Texas, Scotty McLaughlin, what did he have? He had a 14th and an 11th, I think, before this one. And he was racing it up around 6th and 7th. Then he took a quick pit stop, got out really fast, and he was right behind Scott Dixon when the final laps were being peeled off. And Scott Dixon said that he saw him coming in his mirror and he had the telemetry going, shit, he's getting closer and closer. I don't give a shit. He's a Kiwi. I'm still going to win this race. But what a proud moment. What a proud moment for New Zealand motorsport fans. A New Zealander 1 and 2 at IndyCars. I just never would have thought it.
First race on an oval.
I know. And the commentators they just love him. They just wax lyrical about him, don't they? They just say, he's a natural. He's born to do it. He's learning. He's sucking it up every lap. He's getting faster and faster. They just could not say enough good stuff about him. And I caught an interview he did afterwards as well, and he said he was on the Skype or the video chat later on, talking to his mum and dad there, and they were just so proud of him, and it was just so great to see, man. And both called Scott too, eh? Great Scots, fantastic. It's so good to see.
Yes. So good week for those two boys.
It certainly was. So we're just going to finish with that little feature, aren't we? Or you got anything else to say?
I want to get your opinion on the Olympics. Now, Japan's had another break. Do you reckon the Olympics should go ahead?
No, get rid of the Olympics. Like I've been saying this all the way through, man. All these international things. The Olympics is perhaps the greatest sporting event on the planet, but it's also probably perhaps the greatest risk for COVID spreading as well, because people are coming from every bloody corner and God knows what, connecting flights and all that, and then they're all put in one spot. Yeah, okay, no crowds. Okay, we'll mitigate it by doing, everyone has to be tested and all that sort of thing, but it's just too close. It's still too close. Why can't we just forget last year ever happened and forget these next? Just do it the next 4-year cycle. Just push everything out 4 years. Make it 2024, the next Olympics. I know it won't happen like that because of money, but your thoughts, I'm pretty sure, are pretty much the same. Is that right?
Oh, I disagree wholeheartedly. Yeah, of course I agree. It's just. But I saw on the news last night the World Diving Championships are going on in Tokyo at the Olympic venue, and at the moment, all the athletes basically go straight from their hotel to the venue, and they're not allowed out any other time. It's like they're in MIQ, but just they get to go to a swimming pool once. So it's just, I mean, it could turn out to be okay, but it could also turn out to be the biggest super spreader event in the world.
It could. And who are we doing this for? I mean, I know I feel so sorry for the well, there's no fans. I feel so sorry for the athletes because yes, they train all their life to have this, but mate, we've all had to suffer and sacrifice. It's just the way of the world at the moment. It's just the way it is, and I just think there's more important things than sport. Although, if you watch this every week, you probably think, "What the hell is he talking about?"
Sounds harsh, but do you want to go to the Olympics or do you want to die?
Oh, I'll just watch the Olympics and watch people die on TV then.
Yeah.
You know,
Cancel
just
the Olympics.
cancel the Olympics. Cancel all big international sporting events. Make
European
everything internal and club
cancel.
because it'll be over in a year or two. Everything will be sorted. You know, everyone will be vaccinated. We'll be back to some sort of normal, and we can get back on this international tournament bus. But until then, please, you know.
Yes. Stop.
Geez, we're the voice of reason, aren't we, mate?
We
We've been saying this for a year.
Yeah.
Is anyone listening? Okay, good news, good week, bad week for a couple of. So I've gone rugby league this week. Good week, bad week. My good week is Reece Walsh. What a player! He's only 18 years old. He's the best young man I've seen in a Warriors jersey since Sean Johnson. He's got the step, he's got the moves, he's got the good looks. He can kick the ball. There's nothing he can't do. The world is this boy's oyster. He's going to be in the Warriors, provided we don't stuff this up, for the next decade or so. And he's the next icon for the Warriors. And Reece Walsh, the future's looking great. Speaking of Warriors icons, a terrible week for Manu Vatuvei. He was always a big hero of mine. Yep. I love that man with his gold toothy smile and so much for the community and all that sort of thing. But now the cat's out of the bag with his being charged with all sorts of methamphetamine charges, importation and all sorts. I just hope the stories aren't true. I just want the truth to come out, really. If he's been doing it, he'll have to do his time. And really, really sad for the guy. And if it is true, I'm sad for his community. And, you know, he offered so much to them. And, just really, really sad to hear all that. So terrible for him, but another Warrior on the way up. So there you go. That's about as far away as you can get. Hey, good and bad, man. Good and bad. Yep. There you go.
I think you could probably add Jared Hayne to that bad week as well.
Jared Hayne.
He's off to jail for 3 years.
Yeah, 5. I think he got 5.
5, is it?
I think it was 5. Yeah. Jared Hayne. He's just a disgusting human being, mate. I mean,
quite right. Anyway, enough about him.
Yeah.
I think you could also throw in there, in addition to the good week, bad week, I think a lucky week maybe for Joseph Parker, but lucky to get through that fight with Derek Chisora.
I think he's been lucky a couple of times. He was lucky against the Mexican guy too, wasn't he? A little bit there. And he seems to often get those results. I mean, I like boxing, but I don't know enough about the scoring system.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough. And when they do talk about, what, because often I see a punch and I think, oh, but really he blocked it. So, maybe he was lucky, but that's the nature of boxing, man. You can get lucky, with a lucky punch or a lucky a judge saying, I just like the way he fought. So I don't know what's going to happen to him next, though, who he's going to fight, what's going to, and so Joseph.
Yeah, talk about a rematch with Chisora, possibly. I guess Chisora would want that. I don't know if it's such a great idea for Parker.
He'd get eaten up by any of the guys at the top of the division at the moment anyway. He's got a long way to go. He hasn't really progressed as far as I thought he might have when I first saw him. Yep. But I'm still a big fan of him as a boxer. So wish him all the best.
Quite right. Now, next week coming up, we've got a very special guest by the name of Dale Budge. Obviously well known in rugby league and baseball circles, and also has started a new counties sports hub media company. So he's awesome. Doing some great work down in Counties Manukau, promoting all the sports down there. So we look forward to having a chat with Budgie next week.
Really looking forward to that.
I'm sure you'll have a good rugby league chat with him, and I'll have a good baseball chat with him. So
of course, Budgie also was on Radio Sport for a number of years. Always enjoyed his stints on Radio Sport, and of course, he's also the brother of Carl Budge, who ran the tennis at Stanley Street there for so many years. I think he's only just stepped down, has he? Or probably still. Yeah, but very sporting family, involved in all sorts of sports. So we're really looking forward to seeing him, and hopefully you enjoy that chat. That'll be around this time next week.
Quite right. So that's it for this week. Make sure you give us a like on YouTube and Spotify. Hook us up on Spotify and get notified when the latest podcast comes along. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's definitely good night from him. We'll see you next time.